This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Good morning and welcome to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. Each week we provide information and local advice from business experts and community leaders, all packaged up into 7 unique categories to help you start and grow your business. Here you'll find meaningful insights in topics like starting a business, securing capital, staying current with important events, and the all-important accounting and bookkeeping. Also a variety of subjects and resources to help you actually run your business day to day. And for inspiration, both an industry focus and a success story. You can find all of today's segments and past episodes as well on our website. It is beoshow.com. You'll see a QR code pop up throughout the hour. That'll take you directly to what you're trying to find. So here's what's ahead on this hour on Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Certified financial planner James Wilkerson offers high-energy insights and financial literacy. We extend our conversation with Fifth Third Bank and its Money Matters program. Ty Shea has important information about tax deadlines. Our industry focus is celebrating the earth. We visit a Fisher's firm developing cutting-edge technology to provide a safer way to use rare earth metal. And we draw our inspiration from the founder of one of the nation's leading speaker series. April is widely recognized as National Stress Awareness Month, bringing attention to the negative impact stress can have and providing ways to improve mental and physical well-being.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
The Wellness Council of Indiana is here to guide and support employers as they navigate the health and well-being conversation of their workforce. We know that employers are in a very difficult situation a lot of times when it comes to recruiting and retaining their workforce and employees. But what we want is that the opportunity for individuals to show up to be their best selves every day at work. And the Wellness Council of Indiana is here to guide employers in that conversation. The Wellness Council of Indiana is a 501c3 organization, and we are a subsidiary of the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. And that might seem like an odd connection, but what we know is that about 15 years ago, the Indiana Chamber realized that the health of our state was going to be an economic development driver, and that if we were going to recruit and retain business to the state of Indiana, we had to have a healthy workforce. The data suggests that 70% of employees show up every day to work and that their workplace has a more impact on their mental health than anything else in their life. And we know that as employers really navigate this conversation, that there are many factors that play into that. So when we think about the stigma that relates to the mental health crisis that we're facing as a U.S., we need employers to understand that they are not removed from this conversation. Employers play a very active role in supporting their individuals so that they can show up to be their best selves every day at work. And when we think about stigma, there are a few things that we can do as an employer, and that is to communicate authentically about who we are as an individual, because we know that we want employers to understand physical health needs to have the same importance as mental health, and that people show up every day to their workplace, and sometimes their mental health is good and sometimes it's not. And as an employer, you need to understand and be aware that when individuals are coming to work that they may be struggling. Work-life balance is so important, and in order to really be your best self, you have to be able to give yourself permission as a leader to take that personal time, to take that vacation time, so that you can model what it looks like to be a mentally healthy employee, and your employees will notice. There are a lot of opportunities for employers to really use some resources that are available. Number one, they need to know the impact that this is having on their workplace, and they need to be tuned in to what's going on in their workplace. They need to understand that when somebody shows up and maybe they're just acting a little off, that's okay, but when it becomes a consistent thing that is unusual for that person, they need to be able to connect them to the resources that they need. One of the things that they can do is we have a mental health first aid training program where we train frontline managers and supervisors on how to identify when individuals might be in crisis, and connecting them to the resources that are available either internally or externally. So the training component is very, very critical when it comes to that. But first and foremost, we have to reduce the stigma around mental health. We have to let people understand that just like physical health, we come every day with mental health. And again, some days it's good, some days it's bad, but we have to be able to support mental health the same way that we do physical health. Access to care is critically important, and sometimes there are subspecialties within the mental health realm that we need to make sure that we're aware of. Maybe it's challenges with your children and what they're experiencing. Maybe it's a caregiver, maybe it's an addiction and substance use disorder. So we need to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all, and mental health is very personal. The other thing that we have to do as employers, small and large, is we have to build the culture. We have to build the culture that acknowledges that it is okay for us to talk about your mental health today. It is okay if you're struggling and you need to utilize some of the resources that are available. It's not something that people need to hide or be ashamed of, because everybody has their story. Everybody talks about how mental health or poor mental health has impacted their lives, and we need to be okay with that. And as we think about what an employer can do, it's about getting to know your employees. It's about being authentic in those relationships. It's about letting them know that you are going to support them and help them navigate this very, very challenging time.
If you have a business story you'd like to share about getting started or any other aspect, we'd love to hear it. Send us an email at beo@wishtv.com. Coming up next, we talk to a high-energy certified financial planner about financial literacy and steps to improve it. Later, a reminder about some of the tax deadlines you'll need to have on your calendar. That's coming up as Business Equity and Opportunities return.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital.
As we now get into April, it is another month, Financial Literacy Month, in fact, and we bring back a recent guest that proved so popular first time around. We want to talk to him again. James Wilkerson is kind enough to join us again. 20-year veteran of the U.S. Navy, a commander in the Navy, longtime financial planner as well, and has the ability to just talk straight about the idea of financial literacy and the importance of it. I warned you, my friend, that we'd put you in the Rolodex after that first appearance. We're glad you're back with us. Thanks for making time with us.
Thank you for having me. And again, I love talking about the things that we could do to put people in a better financial position.
Why? You do smile brightly when you do that. Why do you enjoy it so much?
The reason is that most people are really destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They make money, spend money, but they don't know how to protect and grow money. For example, most people spend too much time looking back at the past mistakes, things that they didn't do well. And so I have to remind them, it's kind of like a rear view mirror in a windshield. The rear view mirror is there simply to remind us of where we come from. So there may have been some bumps in the road along the way, but there may have also have been some good things along the way that we can leverage as we look to the future. Now, what's in front of us is far better than what's behind us. So we have to be forward facing and leaning forward with an expectation that things are going to get better.
And to that end, then the windshield has the wants and the needs and an open map, and you could drive anywhere you want. Help us chart that course. What should we be thinking about?
So the very first thing that we have to do is learn how money works. When we talked the last time, we talked about the fact everybody wanted more, but they don't know how to get more.
Yeah.
So we have to make sacrifices. So I'm going to sacrifice some of my wants to take care of some of the things that I really need. Everybody should be saving money, because it's not if it's going to happen, it's just when is it going to happen, because bad things happen to good people all the time. And if you don't have a contingency plan in place for those things, when those bumps in the road occur, you find yourself facing a bigger financial setback.
And to that end, there's a difference, is there not, between being prepared for a setback and fearing that setback?
Without a doubt. Unfortunately, most people operate from the perspective of fear because they have never done anything like starting to really to invest or to save on a scale that put them in a position to do stuff that they never thought possible. They're a little nervous, fearful, on edge about it. And so we have to get past that fear. How do we get past that fear? Well, we leverage the people we know who have experience in that arena. There's somebody in our lives who have had a degree of success that they could share those success stories with us to help us to navigate that minefield, because we're afraid to get blown up. And when it comes to your money, you can't afford to make those kind of mistakes because those setbacks can set you so far back that you never recover.
How do you bring this up in just friendly conversation? You're going over to a friend's house, you know, for a meal or whatnot. Is this something people are intimidated to talk about, or are they glad to have an ear from somebody who knows the road?
It's funny you would say that, because this is one thing that I found. The people who don't have money don't like to talk about money. The people who have money talk about it because they want to get more of it. And so that's a conversation that has to happen at the dinner table in every household, because it's important for parents to groom their children to start thinking about a plan for success. And part of that narrative is let's start at the very beginning. You know, as a child growing up in Mississippi, I was an entrepreneur. I cut yards, I sold sugar cane, I sold frozen cups. I did whatever I could because I wanted to have my own. And so in the course of having your own, you need to also have a plan to protect and grow your own. So I tell people, don't despise a small beginning. It might be $25 a week that you could put away, but if you did that for a year, that's $1,200. If it's $50 a week and you did it for a year, now you're sitting on $2,400. And you do the math behind it, at the end of the day, it could be a very significant portion of a plan to put you in a great position. And I say that because here's what I found out last week. I was at a dealership in Baton Rouge, and I asked one of the salespeople, what's the average car payment individuals are buying vehicles for? He said $1,000 monthly, $1,000. On top of that, it was not a 48 month, it was not a 60 month. This is for 72 months. And so that tells me that a lot of time needs and wants are not properly identified. You needed transportation. You just wanted something that was fancy.
Right, shiny. And 72 months is an awful long time to be.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time, very long time.
Looking over your shoulder, I'm reminded of your military history, and you talked about people who are excited to talk about money, people who are a little reluctant to. When you are in a military setting, there is often a rigidly structured set of circumstances in place for your day-to-day lives. We have a lot of our viewers are hoping to become veteran-owned business owners, but they are coming from a different perspective than those who've been in civilian life their entire time. Are there different sort of pathways that you find that people in the military either can take or they're a little reluctant to take based on the fact that this windshield is all theirs to drive around in?
Coming from a military background, most of those individuals have been exposed to writing a vision and executing a plan. Mm-hmm. So it's part of the narrative that they operate in. So for most people who are not from a military background, they have to work on that part of it, because anything can be accomplished, but you got to do it in bite-sized morsels. Mm-hmm. And so you begin with the end in mind. I always tell people, most people get on an airplane to get to a destination. So most people want to get somewhere, and they're starting here, but they don't know how to get there.
Right.
So in order to get there, they have to talk to people who have some experience. So every business owner should talk to somebody in that business arena to get some guidance on how they got there. You'll be amazed that the people who are successful in certain areas, they love to talk about what they do. Mm-hmm. They're waiting to share that information. So those individuals should be tapping into those resources of people who are doing what they want to do. And I'm guaranteeing you that there will be somebody who wants to share that information with them.
Well, we enjoy your enthusiasm and your excitement for sharing information as well. Thanks for being with us again. James Wilkerson.
Thank you so much, Scott. You have an incredible rest of your weekend. I hope everybody takes advantage of Financial Literacy Month and become financially lit.
Up next on Business Equity and Opportunities, a recap of this year's Asian American Alliance Gala. And later, Fifth Third Bank shares information on its Money Matters program and what it's doing to help local women dress for success.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
Time for This Week in Business on Business Equity and Opportunities. The Asian American Alliance just celebrated its 25th anniversary. Albert Chen, Dr. Terry Yen, and Dr. Chow Hung Lee started the alliance to build an umbrella organization for the entire Asian American community and build a pipeline of leadership that would strengthen a partnership between Asian Americans with the entire Indiana community. Wish TV was proud to be a sponsor of this year's 25th anniversary gala, held last Saturday at the Arts Garden downtown, and we're honored to have been awarded the Asian American Alliance Pillar Award. Mark your calendars for this year's Asian Fest, coming up Saturday, May 11th at the Indiana Historical Society. It's a celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, showcasing the people, the art, the music, and the food of the many vibrant cultures. We look forward to seeing you there. Some events coming up later this month. The Small Business Administration is holding its Boots to Business Reboot Luncheon, April 18th at Butler University. It's a free workshop for military veterans and their spouses outlining how-tos and resources for those ready to start a small business. April 24th, 2 p.m., the SBA is presenting Federal Contracting 101, free webinar to introduce small business owners to the world of federal contracts. Tomorrow, very big day, huge opportunities as long as the weather cooperates. People from around the world will be here looking up behind these to see the solar eclipse. Estimates say we could have more than 500,000 visitors. We will have our Wish TV cameras out in force with on-site coverage starting in daybreak and then non-stop beginning at 2 o'clock from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, White River State Park, Conner Prairie, Children's Museum, IU Bloomington, and Butler University's Holcomb Observatory. We would love to hear how this historic event impacts your business. Shoot us an email, beo@wishtv.com. Share your thoughts and stories.
This Week in Business is made possible by InnoPower.
When we come back, we catch up with Fifth Third Bank at Dress for Success to learn more about the help it offers entrepreneurs. Then later, we head to Noblesville to find out about a technology firm developing high-tech ways to help the environment. All ahead on Business Equity and Opportunity.
This is a multicultural program, so it's a time for people from all different areas in life to come together and learn.
Giving people that opportunity with a different voice from different demographics is very inspirational to see.
And it's just been so amazing, so informative, lots of new information to be able to see how the news is created behind the scenes.
I have only imagined that I would be in a program like this, learning how to put different TV program levels together, but I don't have to imagine anymore.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities. Nashelle Frazier is the Vice President of Community and Economic Development with Fifth Third Bank of Indiana. We caught up with her recently at a Dress for Success event to find out how the bank is helping to address financial literacy and why it's so important to anyone who wants to own their own business.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
My name is Nashelle Frazier, and I'm Vice President of Community Impact for Fifth Third of Greater Indiana. And we are here at Dress for Success this morning to celebrate Financial Literacy Month in the month of April. Dress for Success is a long-term partner with Fifth Third Bank, and they celebrate women through their workforce development, their financial education, and just professional development skills. Women being supported in our community Women most of the time are the backbone of what we do in our families. So that's generational wealth. That is the women feeling empowered and to empower their families and the entire community. And it's always been just a passion of mine to help people around their finances and to understand the opportunities that are there for them and to be financially educated. It's very important for women to have a strong financial background and understanding how the financial systems work, how that plays into how they manage their homes, their lives, their businesses, and their careers overall. Financial education is not just learning about the terms and the knowledge, that is a piece of it, but really feeling empowered to make those decisions for yourself now, currently, and your future. In my opinion, I don't believe you can separate the two, personal finances or business. Both of them are integral into how you're going to grow your business. A lot of business owners are really the buzzword about generational wealth. We can't get there if both of these foundations aren't solid. And so as business owners want to trade their time for money, they want to be very intentional about building up their personal credit scores, have the financial understanding of what does it mean where you're financially solid on your personal side, and how does that translate over to your business. And so a lot of times business owners will focus on just the business aspect and access to capital and receiving funding, but a lot of that is really predicated on the personal finances. So at Fifth Third Bank, our financial education programming, I believe, is top notch. And so we really take an approach that it needs to start very young. And so we have our Young Bankers Club program, which starts with our elementary school age children and also youth serving organizations. So we start them at 4th grade because this is when they're starting to learn about math and how can we interweave personal finance into that as well. And so that programming is all digital and it is available to anyone in the state of Indiana and beyond. And then we start with our junior high and our high school students with Finance Academy. That again is a digital course available to anyone across our state. And then we support our adults, which is why we're here supporting Dress for Success with our Empower You programming. And that teaches everything from budgeting to investments to retirement and just financial basics. And so we believe in it is a generational thing. So starting very young with our middle and high school, and then we also have an entrepreneur track with our high school students because that is also important to give them the knowledge of if they want to start a business, and then we support our adults. I would say being out in community, supporting people around financial education. When you see those light bulbs go off, that people are getting it and they're beginning to make plans and create goals for themselves and their families, to me that is what just makes me get up and do that over and over again. I have a story. I had a young lady, I was working with her, maybe she was around 17 at the time. So we did all the financial basic things and we just kind of built that pyramid for her. And when I say pyramid, I'm talking about your basic things, understanding your banking, your retirement, etc. And she texted me out the blue one day and said, "Hey, Shell, I'm 18 now. I remember what you said. I want to start building my credit." And I haven't talked to her about over a year. So those are the things that are impactful, that when we go out and we meet and we sit with people one-on-one, they are retaining that and they are thinking, okay, I can change the generational course for my family. I can learn new things. And when she sent that to me, that was really just amazing. And so that is why we show up and do the things we do day in and day out.
It's April. We have to start talking about taxes. We'll do that with an expert when Business Equity and Opportunities returns.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities. If you are a calendar year filer and your tax year ends December 31st, you should be well aware of the filing deadlines coming up. If you're a business owner, you know filing taxes means more than just one day. Circle City Broadcasting CFO Ty Shea reminds us about business filings and why it's so important to make those filing dates on time.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
Ty, let's jump in with where we are in tax season. You know, for businesses, one important date has passed already.
Yeah, so for a lot of businesses, corporations and some of those, the tax deadline was actually March 15th, right? And so for those businesses, those business owners, they file their corporate taxes and get what's called a K-1, which is kind of a record of that owner's share of that business and that activity for the prior year. But there's also for, any kind of sole proprietorships, folks that kind of run their own shop. April 15th is also a big deadline for them. And so when it's time to file your personal taxes, whether it's a Schedule C or reporting your K-1 from your corporate business, April 15th is still a big deadline for business owners, of course.
When you say the 15th, it reminds me, over the last several years, that date has changed for various reasons, odd quirks of the calendar, things like that. We are back to the 15th this year, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes, I believe we are. And so obviously, talk with your tax professional. For a lot of folks, they will also, extend their taxes too, and that's a very simple process that your tax professional can work you through. But one aspect that is important that does kind of flow down to you as a taxpayer, if you're a business owner, is a lot of times you may get to a point where you're expected to pay estimated taxes. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of goes back to your business. Oftentimes, if your business is your primary source of income, get an idea of when, how much revenue and net income your business is going to earn, that you're going to have to report on your end. And so that kind of goes back to a topic we talk all the time about, is budgeting and projecting income and things like that. And so that it does have an impact to you as an individual taxpayer. At some point, you may be expected to make estimated payments on a quarterly basis throughout the year, and not just pay them on the back end after the year is done when you file your taxes.
When you say that, it occurs to me there's a danger perhaps, and most of us, you're great at it, but most of us don't love all of this number stuff. We may think to ourselves, all right, well, this is what I made this year. I'll just rubber stamp that number into next year. But if you've got plans to expand, scale up, if you will, or pare back or introduce different products, you probably are looking at a very different number, even though you'd like to just write the same thing in for the next year.
Yeah, no question. And that's where, having good communication with your tax preparer is really important. If your income is going to fluctuate greatly from year to year, that's where they can help you and say, look, I anticipate you, whether it's making a lot more or less, depending on the nature of your business and different cycles you're in, it may make sense to, maybe make estimated payments for the first time, or maybe scale them back, as well as, and that's really, I agree that it's something that it always helps to be aware of on the front end and not get dinged on the back end for not paying enough in during the year.
And then, so for those who maybe are new to all of this, the many viewers that we have who are like, I'm interested, I may jump in. You've long since counseled that know what you're good at, and maybe know what you'd like to get good at, but what you're not currently good at. And that's when you turn to other people for help. And when we say my accountant, that doesn't mean somebody I've got on the payroll for 52 weeks a year necessarily. There's some good sort of temporary solutions out there that can help you deal with this specific task.
Sure. And for a lot of folks that, there are obviously tax services that you can do online, right? And file your own. And if you've got, really simple, just, Schedule A deductions and stuff like that, using an online service is just fine. But if you're a business owner and you've got fluctuations and some unusual aspects to your business, it probably makes sense to consult with a professional who can help guide you through those K1s and Schedule Cs that are a little trickier than, perhaps somebody who's got just a standard W-2 and standard Schedule A deductions for their taxes.
He's the professional that helps us with ours and manages our books here at Circle City Broadcasting. Taishe, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Running your business day to day is made possible by Circulus Digital Media.
If you'd like more helpful hints about running your business day to day, visit us at beoshow.com. Ahead, we travel to an Indiana technology company making headlines with how it's using technology to produce and purify rare earth elements. It's our industry focus when Business Equity and Opportunities returns. Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities. National Earth Day is the 22nd of this month. Wish TV celebrating Earth Day every day with local programming highlighting businesses that are making a difference in earth-friendly products and processes. Dave Sauve is the Chief Marketing Officer for Re-Element Technologies in Fishers, said to be the world's first commercial producer of rare earth elements and critical battery metals from recycled materials. The company says it does it with a low-cost, environmentally sensitive process.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. Industry Focus.
My name is David Save and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Re-Element Technologies, and this is the Re-Element pilot facility. This is where we have developed the technology born at the Purdue University laboratories and have developed it to that semi-commercial to commercial scale. So what Re-Element does is we are a midstream critical mineral refining company, and what we do is we take both end-of-life material and freshly mined virgin ores, and we separate and purify it to these separated critical elements, which include both the rare earth elements and the critical battery elements. This process is very unique and is really an industry game changer, because what it essentially is behind me is these columns, which are about 3 feet in diameter and about 6 feet, they can be 6 feet tall. They're densely packed with a binding resin, and that resin is microporous. It has nanometer channels running through it, which expand the surface area, but that resin is very similar to the resin that you would find in a home water softening system. So with a home water softening system, you're basically catching metallic impurities that come through your plumbing supply before they reach the plumbing supply. But what we do is we catch the critical elements as they pass through the column, and where the home water softening system does not then layer them sequentially, what we do is we wash the resin that has the bound metallic ions, and that wash then separates them into sequence, which they can then be discharged into separate storage containers for additional treatment and processing to become that final saleable form. This is important ecologically because in order to find freshly mined materials, especially when you're talking about rare earth elements, you need deposits in the ground that have high enough concentrations of rare earths to justify the economic cost. And these deposits are usually, they encompass an area of many, many hundreds of acres. So what we do is we basically reduce the need for freshly mined material because we can recapture those rare earth elements and the critical battery elements from end-of-life recycled materials, which include a number of different feedstocks. They include recycled magnets, recycled batteries, ground and purified batteries, ground and purified magnets, and critically manufacturing waste. And so when you're manufacturing new magnets or new batteries, around 20% of the material is actually lost in the manufacturing process. And so what we can do is we can deploy these columns on a manufacturing site and essentially continuously refine that waste so that nothing is ever lost in the process. This is technology that really makes a significant dent on the monopoly in the critical mineral market that exists today. And the reason it's able to make that dent on the monopoly is because it's so cost effective. And the cost effectiveness of the technology really comes down to the fact that the resin inside is able to expand the surface area available for metallic ion binding. It condenses it into a 3-foot by 6-foot column. So what you're doing with this technology is essentially shrinking it down from what was originally the size of many football stadiums of refinery plants. And so it is not just cost effective, but it's also modular in the sense that you don't need 6 columns in order to treat feedstock coming through. You can actually insert 3 columns, 2 columns, 9 columns, whatever you need. It's scalable at the same time to meet whatever volume demands come through it. It's adaptable, so it can adapt to whatever feedstock type the partner might need. Most importantly, it's deployable, meaning we don't have to centralize our processing. We can actually ship our technology to a refining site, to a manufacturing site, to a mining site, and decentralize the entire supply chain from that point. The laboratory is extremely advanced in what we're using it for, not just to qualify customer samples and to test material, but we also use it to test resins and to optimize resins. We are in the middle of developing version 2.0 of the technology, which is continuous chromatography, and there are massive optimizations with that technology, but also we really haven't explored the frontier of different resins and the potential for resins to further enhance the cost effectiveness and the environmentally sustainable aspects of the process. The technology was born and perfected at the Purdue University laboratories. It was Professor Linda Wang who, over the span of close to 40 years is what I've heard, is she was able to take this technology and really perfect it to be able to make that leap into the commercialization stage. And so with Purdue's support and help, we've been able to take Linda Wang's technology and commercialize it, and what we found is that her laboratory scale, while it was extremely efficient, we found that the commercial scale is actually exceeding our expectations in terms of both efficiency, sustainability, cost effectiveness, speed to produce the product. So it's really defying our own expectations internally. Our expectations with the technology going forward, well, really from day one, it's been to decentralize the supply chain. So to make it so that the supply of these raw materials are not wholly dependent on one single source. Our vision is to decentralize the supply chain long term, but short term it's to ship the technology overseas to our partners, to mining sites, to manufacturing sites, to essentially make a dent in the supply chain. We know we're not going to rewrite entire global supply overnight, but what we're able to do is offer these partners not just a cost-effective alternative, but also a very meaningfully environmentally sustainable alternative that is almost zero waste water, 70% less carbon emissions, 25% less energy used, 25% less water used. So it's a very, very sustainable process. A lot of us here see this as really a once-in-a-generation opportunity, not just the convergence of EVs in the market, but the combination of market growth of EVs, the continued sustained growth of consumer electronics that use rare earth elements, the military applications that are needed that use both rare earth and critical battery elements. So the total addressable market it's near endless, and so we have an opportunity to really rewrite entire supply chains and to offer a honestly sustainable solution that's going to be able to preserve the delicate ecosystems that a lot of these materials come from. So it's a great honor for us.
If you'd like to learn more about this or any of our industry-focused segments, go to our website. It's beoshow.com. QR code gets you right there. When we return, we'll meet the founder of the Steward Speakers Series and find out more about his mission of more than 3 decades. It is our success story, coming up on Business Equity and Opportunity. Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. Matthew Steward is the founder and president of the Steward Speaker Series, and he is our success story today.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities Success Story.
So it started really as a student at Indiana University, Bloomington campus. I was a political science major. Became involved in a number of student-based activities, including a group called Union Board. And Union Board was responsible for bringing all of the campus activities to students. Becoming involved in that process, and upon graduating from Indiana, I came back to Indianapolis. So there were a number of key community stakeholders, and I went to them and I asked, do they think that a lecture series would be viable here in Indianapolis? And their response was they thought so, but let's give it a try. And so in 1986 was the very first one. November of 1986, we held it at Clues Hall, and our very first speaker was Dick Gregory. So it's not just a stand-up lecture. In fact, we pride ourselves on asking the speaker if they're engaged with our speaker series here in Indianapolis is to do three things. One is to make sure that there is a student component. So we try to make sure that students see these national thought leaders here in Indianapolis. So the second thing we asked them to do is do some media pieces. So they either go on WTLC or radio with community connections, or they go on another media outlet. We want to make sure that the broader community knows that that speaker was here in town. And then finally, we asked them for sure to make sure to have them do a evening lecture. It's an opportunity to dialogue. Our byline, again, more than just talk. We try to make sure that there is an ongoing conversation, and we try to focus on issues that we think are important to our community. But one other thing that the speaker series, Stewart Speaker Series, does is we offer an opportunity for young journalists from schools to come in and interview the speakers. So they get first dibs on the speaker and asking questions, and it helps them home in on their skills and their ability. And so the impact, the beauty of the speaker series is unlike any other speaker series. And I guess I might quickly add that when we started in November of '86, the speaker series, we have lasted longer than any other speaker series here in the state of Indiana. So Stewart Speakers is predated the Clues Hall speaker series, and some of those other speaker series ended up concluding. Stewart Speakers continues to go, so we're one of the longest running speaker series in the state of Indiana. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, is coming to Indianapolis. And so again, Stewart Speakers prides itself on the ability to bring thought leaders, individuals that we might not otherwise see here in Indianapolis. It helps put Indianapolis, if you will, on the map. So Prime Times coming to Indianapolis. It's on Thursday, April the 11th. Coming to none other than Lucas Oil Stadium. So we have the entire floor of Lucas Oil Stadium. We're going to have a sit-down dinner where he's going to take photos. He's going to have a moderated conversation. And so we're going to have a wonderful time. We're also honoring, doing that presentation, 4 local sports icons. And I might hasten to add that our theme this year is sports and education. So, and the African American influence. So it's important that we recognize some of the local individuals who have been just outstanding in sports. Those individuals, Tamika Catchings, and so she needs no explanation here in Indianapolis. The second one is Anthony Calhoun, who needs being the sports director for Wish TV, for I know at least 30 plus years, Wish TV has made sure that this series has continued to go. So those two, and then Jimmy McMillan with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway will be honored. And then the last person who will get a very, very special award, Rick Fusion, who is the president and CEO of Pacer Sports and Entertainment. And of course, as you know, he's wrapping up this chapter of his life in June. And so we wanted to be able to reach out to him and say thank you for the impact that you've made to the Indianapolis community, particularly in sports, but so much more than just the sports arena. You know, the glow, the impact that I see in young people's eyes, the excitement, it gives me a great sense of pride that I was able to kind of spearhead this, but I, of course, don't do this alone. It is, Stewart Speakers is a not-for-profit lecture series organization. We have a board of directors. There are so many individuals that come alongside of us and so many businesses along with Wish TV that have come alongside of Stewart Speakers and help make that impact for young people, but not only young people. It just resonates and it does my soul wonder.
If you'd like more information about this or any of the stories we've shared with you today, you'll find links to all of them on our website. It's beoshow.com. You can get there scanning the QR code on your screen. While you're there, look for past segments of the show from each of our 7 weekly topics. Watch them, download them, use the buttons that are right underneath them to share them on social media with anybody that you think can use the advice. Please listen to and subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Sign up for the newsletter that we update every Tuesday. And if you have questions or a success story to share, send us an email. It's beo@wishtv.com. That is our hour for this week. We will see you again next Sunday for more Business Equity and Opportunities. Till then, I'm Scott Sander. Have a great day.
Business, Equity, and Opportunities made possible by InnoPower, Bose McKinney & Evans, Gemco, Fifth Third Bank, and Indiana University, Indianapolis.